Yo guys, what is up? It's Teach here, coming at you again with another video over on Ark Survival Ascended, and I'm going to answer the question hopefully for you: should you play PvP or should you play PvE? I'm going to give you 5 different pros and cons for each one, my personal experiences, and everything that you need to know about playing PvP or PvE. But first off, before we get there, let's go ahead and figure out, and we'll go back to the main menu to show this, what actually is PvP and PvE. So whenever you join a server, you click join game, right? And then you're going to be able to have the option of going into a PvP or PvE game. You can see that if I click on this option, PvP and PvE are both listed up. PvP means player versus player, so players can attack you at any point in time. And PvE means player versus environment, which means that you are not attackable by any players unless you enable a certain thing that both sides have to agree to a war, basically. So PvE is basically you versus the environment, and no one can attack you unless you want them to. And PvP is a game mode in which anyone can attack anyone at any point in time. So keep that in mind. It's a that's the big distinction between the two. Now, let's talk about the benefits of each one first. Now, in my personal opinion, I love a blend of the two, so I only play on unofficial servers for that exact reason. So PvP, the benefits of playing on a PvP server, if you're the kind of player that really appreciates a long game, right? Because the point of PvP isn't the short game, it is the long game, because your goal is to level up as fast as you possibly can by going through your engrams and unlocking all of the end game content. So once you get towards like level 105-ish, you're going to start get heavy autos, and then you're going to work on your tech equipment, anything from the tech suit, tech rifle, and your teleporters and all those sorts of things, and tech turrets. Now, the end game is the goal of player versus player, because whoever has the higher level everything is typically the one who wins. Now, the second thing, if you're the type of player that really enjoys the extremes, right? Like, so if you play other games and you're a big fan of the extremes of Ark, if you really like the high highs and the low lows, this is the kind of game you want to go PvP in, because essentially the point of Ark PvP, one of the worst feelings in the world, is when you get raided and you lose everything. However, when you raid somebody else and you're able to break into their base and get some of that loot, all that good loot, there's not much of a better feeling in a game. It's super cool because you've essentially accomplished a strategy-based mission in order to actually beat the other team. So that is probably one of the funnest parts of PvP. Now, another positive side, or a pro, if you are someone that likes to be on edge, like I just mentioned, and you're kind of an edgelord. Now, when I say that, it's kind of like you enjoy a little bit of toxicity. You kind of move around a little bit. You enjoy a little bit of banter, and you enjoy a little bit of trolling. Now, trolling just means that if you're in the open world, you're going to pop off some shots on somebody, or if you just play by your own rules. Definitely you want to play more of a PvP style, because it allows you to kind of do what you want inside of the Ark without any really rules that hold you back. Nothing major, at least, for your kind of play style. Now, that's just one of them. But the next thing is, it really does feel good, right? This is another one of those pros. Once you go one-on-one with another player and you're using your team and they're using your team and winning, right? Even if you don't win, you learn, and it's a way to learn incredibly fast. PvP players typically have a vast knowledge of Ark because they learn the hard way. They get killed, they get destroyed, they lose everything, they restart, they build up. They are one of the fastest learning when it comes to Ark, because they have to be. So they're the kind of players that are typically going to have a ton of knowledge in the game, because they've got to experience and do things in different ways that don't necessarily make sense. Now, the last thing for PvP pros that I'm going to talk about is, if you're someone that really likes to feel accomplishment in your late game breeding lines and like your late game plays, which means you have specific dinos that have specific abilities, this is for you. Because over time and over the years that Ark Survival Evolved was out, basically what was able to happen is players were quite literally going into things and making these super dinos in the end, where they would have Giganotosauruses that would just one-chomp literally everything. And then Stegos with so much health that it was almost funny. You could raid an entire base with a single Stegosaurus. So if your goal is that endgame multiple year play, PvP is much more geared towards you. Now, let's say you want to play a PvE style game, and this is more of your style, right? This is a more of a shorter term game for PvE styles because most of the time you don't care too much about the best overall dinos. You care more about how cool the dinos look and their functionality, right? Because you want to just play. So if you're someone that enjoys just playing for a shorter term, being able to pick up the game and put it down, which brings us to our next point. In PvP, you cannot pick up the game and put it down. That's just not how it works. You have to play pretty much constantly in order to play. Whereas in PvE, you can pick up the game for 10 minutes, put it down, leave your character like I am right now on top of a rock, and then come back 3 hours later and you'll be just fine. Now you can also pick it up 2 weeks later, pick it up for a week, and you can do it and play this game whenever, however you want. That is a benefit to playing PvE. No one makes your rules, you make your own rules. No one can raid you, so you can kind of play how you want to play. The PvE maps are much more friendly to learners too. If you're someone that's new to Ark, one of the best things that you can do is experience PvE because you can learn the basic concepts of the game. You can start with your engrams list and you can actually go through each step individually and figure out what is useful, what you like to use, and how to use it. In a PvP environment, you might have your mortar and pestle out and 2 seconds later someone rockets you because they have more time in the game. Whereas in PvE, great learning experience, great way to play the startup game. Now, again, kind of another pro for PvE style games. It is very time friendly. In PvP, you are based and judged based on the amount of time that you can place into the game, not based on your skill usually, which is kind of sad. It's based on whoever has the most time in the game typically wins. Whereas in PvE, if I've got to go make dinner for someone, I'm just going to stop right here, leave my character sitting here, go make dinner, come back, and I'm going to be just fine. If I log off, I've got no concerns, and it's very friendly to my overall value of time because I don't need to concern myself with all the random shenanigans that might happen, because as long as I log out in a base with 4 walls, I'm going to wake up with a base with 4 walls. Now, the other thing that's a positive of PvE, and some people are going to immediately hate me for this, but what I'm going to tell you is it is the true Ark experience to play PvE. You do not need to turn on any settings, right? None. Zero. Zilch. Zada. All you get to do is enjoy Ark in its pure, stunning beauty. If you have your settings turned up to the highest your computer or console can handle them, Ark is a fantastic game. It looks pretty. The clouds make it difficult. It's kind of like a little bit of a edgy game where you walk into the woods and you're not sure if you're going to survive or not. PvE enables. Whereas playing on a PvP server, you're going to gut your entire system and you're going to basically lose all the pretty aspects of Ark. Now that brings us into the cons of each mode. The PvP cons are pretty simple, right? If you lose everything, you lose everything. You start from square one with your player at whatever level they are, and that sucks. That's one of the worst feelings in the world. Now, not only that, because you're always afraid to lose something, you're going to constantly be sweating, trying to figure out, oh, is this guy going to hit me? Oh, am I going to lose something? Oh, am I going to log in? And I swear, it seems weird to say, but you will sometimes not be able to sleep at night because you're like, oh, I really want to raise this thing, but I don't want someone to raid me while I do it. So it sounds weird, but it's going to take a little bit of a toll on you. It does. I've played PvP on official servers. It sucks to get raided, and having that worry really does suck as well. Now, another thing, hate to tell you this, PvP is full of some of the most toxic people that I have ever met in my entire life. Not only are they toxic, but it's almost accepted that cheating is acceptable inside of Ark. People use all kinds of cheats, whether it's aimbot, whether it's actual, there's a lot of cheats. I'm not going to go into all of them individually, but you can dupe is what it's called. And duping means you can duplicate items or dinos using little hacks and cheats and all kinds of stuff. And anything that can be abused and exploited inside of Ark is done so in PvP. Sometimes it'll be used for years and years before another tribe finds out, and then it becomes normal. And then eventually Ark will probably patch it. I say probably. But it's more accepted that you're going to exploit and hack to the best of your ability. Now that sucks because that encourages a toxic behavior, because people are going to do what they can to step on other people, no matter the cost, no matter the value, no matter anything. And that sucks. So, in my opinion, it's a little bit more difficult to be a beginning player and play PvP, or have a life play PvP. I don't mean to sound rude when I say that, it's just true. Now PVE, the toxicity is still there. It's just in a different way. People have a tendency to block you using metal foundations or pillars and stuff like that. Because you can't destroy anyone's stuff, there's nothing to stop anybody from running down a beach and lining the entire thing with all of their foundations and taking up as much space as possible. And there's nothing you can do to stop that, right? And that sucks. Maybe you want to build on a map and you can't because the entire map is pillared off. So yeah, that's a little bit of a toxic thing. People can also aggro tames to your base and they can try and kill you in that way, which is all against terms of service, by the way, but people still do this in PvE. Now, also, PvE has a little bit less entertaining of a long game because you're going to get to a point in PvE where you've unlocked everything and the only thing left to do is just play the game and kind of just do the daily grind. There's no raiding, there's no any end game stuff. It's just there. So PvE, you do hit a point where you cannot really play too much more. And yes, next thing, wars, you can activate wars if you're playing in PvE mode. You basically hit, you can walk up to another tribe, hold E, and you both agree to a war, which means you two can now PvP each other, which is great and all, but I find that typically speaking, most wars don't end well because one tribe loses their mind, one tribe doesn't, or both tribes get a little bit salty. It's kind of just how it works. They're not really all that great. Now, PvE maps are also much laggier because people have nothing to be afraid of. They will build anywhere and anything with massive bases. You log into a PvE server and you are going to experience lag because some people are going to have hundreds of foundations wide bases and they're going to have like maybe 30, 40 foundations or walls tall bases as well. So lag is going to be very prevalent in PvE bases. Now, all of that's great. There are some positive negatives for both though. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're playing on official networks, you are enjoying the game half as much as you could because on unofficial networks, you have mods and you can usually find a server like the one that I run where you can have a PvE player and PvP on the same map and kind of switch between the two in order to enable the different types of gameplay. And that makes a big difference for people. So definitely keep an eye on that. Now, also, both styles, no matter how you look at it, if you only play one style inside of Ark, PvE or PvP, you are missing massive access to the game. In a PvP game, you're going to be heavily focused on turrets and base defense and all these kinds of things and raiding and what can you do to maximize. And that's a great thing. However, you're missing the beauty of Ark. You can't just walk around and stare at a dodo or walk into the ocean and just look at how pretty it is and turn on the settings to enjoy the beauty of Ark. Now, the PvE side, yes, you are enjoying the beauty of Ark, but you're also not learning as much as you could be because sometimes PvP players have some really awesome knowledge that you might never experience. You're never even going to think about turrets around your base. You're never even going to think about weapons in a large, I guess, realm of the game. So you're both missing aspects of the game. Now, all of that being said, they are both awesome modes. My conclusion for my personal opinion is I prefer a PvP server with PvE tendency, or what's called gentleman's rules. And it basically just means that you cannot wipe. So you're playing on an unofficial network at that point. So that way you can kind of play how you want to. Now, that's what I do. So I rarely play on official networks because of the toxicity that is present, but unofficial networks can be fantastic. Now, also something that I really enjoy is I enjoy playing with mods. Mods to me make Ark such an amazing game because every time you log in, it feels like you're getting a new experience. And that is how people play this game. In case you were curious, Ark Survival Evolved came out in 2015. This year was the first year that it needed an update, and it barely needed an update. That was 8 years ago. Ark Survival Ascended will be a long-term game, so playing with mods will encourage you to play all kinds of different styles, and I've got all kinds of stuff. So hopefully this video helps you out, and if you don't mind, smash that like button, leave a comment below for the algorithm, and then consider subbing to the channel. I'm super close to 100K, and that has been my dream all along. Hopefully this helps. Teach out.